Be balanced. Stay alert. Stay humble. That's how I've learned so much. Hey, if there's a 13-year-old in the gym that's doing something, and I look up, I'm like, what are you doing? Teach that to me. I don't care. I'm 55 years old. I've done all this. I don't care. If you has something new to show me, I'll learn. Stay humble. That's how you grow. And of course, stay kind. We talked about that. As a martial artist, I have the opportunity and the choice to be kind by choice. And so stay alert, stay humble, stay kind. If you keep those three things in your mind, it's a solid foundation for a good life.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. And today, I'm joined by Conrad Bui. Conrad, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. Now, all of you out there, if you don't know me, I'm Jeremy Lesniak. I founded Whistlekick and started this show because I love martial arts. I love training. I believe martial arts has the power to make the world a better place. And so that's why we do all of the things that we do. And if you don't know all the things that we do, you should check out whistlekick.com. That's where we have our products, our services, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not even going to name. But go check that out. You can use the code podcast15 to save 15%. I haven't said that in a while. Whistlekickmartialartsradio.com is where we do everything for this show. Because with over 1,100 episodes, it kind of needs its own space. And if you go over there, you're going to find links, transcripts, the audio and the video versions, and a place to sign up for our newsletter. If you want behind-the-scenes content for free, you should sign up for the newsletter. And you can do that at whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. And with that, Conrad, thanks for being here.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Of course. Well, it's an honor to have you on here. Anytime somebody is willing to spend some time with someone that they don't know, I'm pleased. I'm thankful. It's a little strange. Hey, do you want to come talk to me about martial arts? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I look out at the world and to ask that question, hey, do you want to come talk to me about just about any other subject? It sounds very childish. Like, do you want to hang out and build a fort? But when it's, do you want to hang out and talk about martial arts? It's like our favorite thing to do, isn't it?
Right. Well, it's our passion and, it's a lifestyle. So, that's about all I talk about anyways.
It's it. Do the non-martial arts people in your life ever go, or maybe you don't have non-martial arts people in your life. Maybe you've pushed them all away with your frequent martial arts talk.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, but yet I try to be flexible. But yeah, it's interesting when I am outside of my martial arts circles. I'm an introvert. I'm like just listening and absorbing. But when I'm with my martial arts family, I just my vibration goes up. I'm in my space, and I'll steal the show if I can sometimes because I just love it. I feel like my passion comes out, and my love for the arts comes out. You mentioned like, oh wow, how is it that you can contact a stranger and go and hang out and talk to them? I consider the martial arts world one big family, and it's just people I haven't met yet. I've got aunts, I have uncles, I have cousins, I have family out there I just haven't met yet, and it's just we're meeting right now, but we're family.
Okay. I like that. I like looking at it that way because it's kind of a different dynamic. A lot of us talk about the ways that martial arts are related, and my favorite metaphor is the mountain one, right? Like, closer you get to the top of the mountain, the closer the arts that we practice look and are to each other. But the idea of thinking of it as a family, I think, inherently starts with connection rather than the mountain metaphor, which suggests that the connection is built over time.
Yes. I consider it family. Sometimes you have crazy Uncle Bob out there just spewing funky words, and you're like, there's crazy Uncle Bob. And then sometimes you have people you just connect with really well. could be a distant cousin that you just vibe with really well, and so it's it's like a family.
The people you look forward to seeing at the reunion, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody that you're like, why don't you stay over on that side?
Yeah, but
I'm
they're
gonna
still
stay over
family.
here.
They're
But there's
still
still
family,
family.
right?
And if push comes to shove, you still maybe have their back.
Right. Yes. Yes. And you have
Mm.
something in common with them. With family, it's DNA, right? But with us, it's our passion, it's our lifestyle, it's martial arts. I have a jujitsu instructor, and he said, to me, you're more family to me than my own family. Because we
Mm.
can talk like this, we can share our passion. We sweat together, we bleed together. You feel more like family to me than my own family, and I
Mm.
agree. Sometimes a family that you choose has deeper meaning than a family that you have by chance.
Yeah. Has it always been like this for you? Did you hit the ground running with your training and think this is gonna be my life?
No, it's been
No.
a long journey. I've been training for
Mm.
over 40 something years.
Okay.
Continuously, I've met people. Oh, I've trained for 40 years. It turns out they did some martial arts at the Y, took 30 years off, and just came back 5 years ago. And I have to put in continuously, nonstop, several arts at a time as well too,
Yeah.
for over 40 years. And
Wow.
I've been through so many journeys. I can see people's evolution when I talk to them, where they are on their journey, because I've been there myself. So when someone says something to me that I feel is immature,
Mm.
I understand, because I was there myself. I've been part of cults, if you will. I've been parts of this and that. I've been all the negative side of martial arts as well as the positive sides of martial arts, and I understand where they are. So I didn't jump into this with this understanding, this more broad understanding that I have when I was in my 20s or 30s even. And I
Mm.
still feel I'm still on a journey. I'm still learning. I'm growing. Every time I meet somebody, I learn something from them, and I always learn something, whether it's what to do or what not to do. And so I'm always learning from somebody. My advice to people is try to be on the what to do side and try to avoid being categorized. Oh, I'm learning from you, but I'm learning what not to do. And so everyone's my teacher. Everyone's my teacher, for the good
Mm.
or the bad.
Sure. Sure. Okay. And so what's your origin story?
All right, yeah. So I go around the country. I've been around the world teaching seminars and things like that. And I'll go and spend my own money to go and teach seminars and things like that,
Mm.
and to be part of seminars as well too. And that's the question you get when you meet some other martial arts junkie, or the extended family. Like, how'd you get into this
Mhm.
family? And I always wonder, do you have time for the long version, or you want the short version? And
We've
then I
got
always
time
wonder,
for the long version.
yes, we're
Let's
going to
do
go
it.
into the long
Let's do
version.
the long
And
version.
it also depends what event I'm at. So if I'm at a Silat event,
Um,
I kind of just keep it Silat-y. If I'm at
mm,
like a Muay Thai event, it'll be Muay Thai. If
mm.
I'm at whatever Chinese martial arts event, I'll keep it Chinese martial arts, because I wonder, like, do they have half an hour or an hour to walk with me through my journey? Because do you want the long version or short, the long form, the full 108 yang form, or do you want the short 24 version form? So I kind of try to read the situation and just give them that specific background. But since this is a podcast, we have time, and hopefully I won't bore our listeners too much. Uh, we'll go through the long version of what created this man, what I call myself now, a man, MAN, martial arts nerd. And so
Ooh.
I use that term man. One is to, sound kind of manly, like it's a strong thing. But then when you figure out it's martial arts nerd, that kind of puts the
Mm.
yin to the yang and disarms people.
Yeah.
And I find that when I talk to people outside the martial arts, sometimes they think, "Ooh, martial artist, you're violent. You just want to punch me in the face or something." And we as martial artists know that the most dangerous people out there are actually the most peaceful people. Because they understand their destructiveness and the destructiveness of potentially other people out there as well too. And so
Right.
we're actually the most peaceful people. And we have a saying in my company, Tiga Tactics. We say kind by choice. And so
Ooh, I
we're
like that. That's
yeah,
good.
and so we're kind by choice. We have a choice. If I want to, I can kill people with my bare hands. There's absolutely no doubt. I put you in rear naked choke. I knock you out. You're out cold. I do what I want to you, right? I could kill literally just about anyone I meet out there with my empty hands. But I choose by choice to be kind. And most of the people I know who are in martial arts, including non-martial artists who are in the military as well as law enforcement that I train with and train under, uh, they are the kindest, nicest people that
Mm.
you'll ever meet. And so that's why I go back to this martial arts nerd thing, just to disarm people and let them know, hey, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd.
Mm.
And I think that there's that perception out there that, as a martial artist, uh, we're violent, dangerous people that go around dragging our knuckles and grunt at each other. But once we put that word nerd behind it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you're kind of cool then.
It
Um,
softens it. I get that.
yeah, yeah. So my beginning started back when I was 8 years old, and my family immigrated from Vietnam to the United States.
Okay.
And we wound up in Aurora, Colorado, of all places, in the 70s. And
I'm sure there was a large Vietnamese population there.
yes, exactly, huge, huge.
And I'm sure in the 70s there was absolutely no um, how do I want to put this? Legacy feelings among some of the people about you being Vietnamese.
Right, right. My family, there was probably 10, uh, 10, the population of Vietnamese was probably 10 at that time. And my family took half of that population right there. And so, yeah, and I understand, the culture back then, there was a lot of racism. There was a lot of challenges. A kid, I I was about 4 years old when I came to the United States, and I grew up in Aurora, Colorado, and uh, I experienced a lot of racism, and so I never felt like I belonged. And luckily, one day, I watched Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, and
Mm.
I thought, oh man, here's an Asian guy, and he's doing this amazing. His ability is amazing, and he's Asian, and someone I can relate to and be proud of. Because up until that point, I always felt like an outcast. I was not proud of myself. In fact, I was embarrassed. Uh,
Mm.
I love to tell this story. I'm Asian. Obviously, I'm Asian. But when I went to
If you're
school,
not watching, Conrad is Asian.
yeah, when I went to school, I just looked through my eyes and pretended I was white, like the other kids. And I would be
Okay.
so embarrassed to bring my parents to like back to school night
Mm.
or parent teacher conference and things like that. Because then the kids would realize I was Asian.
You
And I'm
couldn't
like,
pretend.
yeah, I'm like, so I was embarrassed of my parents even, and it was the weirdest thing. But yeah, I really wasn't proud of my heritage at all. I was embarrassed. And so
Mm.
by seeing Bruce Lee, I thought, wow, that's so cool. And, later on talking with martial artists, I found that a lot of them, there's two reasons that they started martial arts, especially the older generation, maybe 40, 50, 60s and above. There's two reasons. One was Bruce Lee. I've met
Mhm.
a lot of people. Oh man, yeah, I watched that Bruce Lee movie. And, wow, I just wanted to do martial arts. So the younger generation, no, not so much, but it's still cool. The media, I have friends who are younger, and they got into through it from Jean-Claude Van Damme or one of those media outlets, and that's cool too. But a lot of the older generation, they were Bruce Lee fanatics, Bruce Lee
Mhm.
fans. and so that's one reason. The second reason a lot of martial artists get into martial arts is because of some kind of bullying, surprisingly. And I talked to a lot of martial artists, and those are the two major reasons. One was Bruce Lee, and the other is bullying. And I had them
I
both.
would agree.
I had them both, Bruce Lee and bullying. And so at that time, I watched Enter the Dragon. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I definitely want to do this. Something. I don't know what it was. I just knew this is something I wanted to do. And so I asked my parents, please put me in a martial arts school. And back then, immigrant from Vietnam, we didn't have a lot of money. And so my parents were like, well, we can't afford it. And so it turns out my dad had a black belt in Aikido.
What?
And so I didn't know what Aikido was. I just wanted martial arts.
Wow.
8-year-old kid. I was like, okay, Dad, teach me Aikido then. We can't afford schools. Teach me Aikido. So he would wake myself up and my brother up before work, before he went to work. And, as a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, you're like, oh, you just want to sleep. But I was dedicated. I woke up and we trained Aikido. And after a while, I was like, wait a second, where's all this Bruce Lee kicking and punching stuff? We're doing wrist locks and throws and things like that. And I thought, I want more of that Bruce Lee stuff. But I still trained with my dad for about 3 years. And then they finally gave in, and they allowed me to go to a Taekwondo school close by called Muay Thai Karate, ran by Steve Oliver. And he had a franchise of schools. And so I went through a few instructors in that system, Muay Thai Karate, and they taught basically Taekwondo. It was through the Junri lineage. And I started there, and I earned my black belt at 16 years old. And at that time, I was competing a lot in tournaments. I had several instructors that came through the school, and then the one I stuck with, his name is Troy McCaskill. He was a big time point fighter back in the 80s and 90s. And so I did a lot of point sparring, point competitions, as well as forms as well too. I usually was able to place in both forms and fighting. I have state titles in sparring. I have national titles in sparring as well, and as well as forms. Back when from 16 all the way up to 19, 20 years old, I was competing very heavily at that time. And so Taekwondo is a wonderful art. And I think Taekwondo is a terrific introduction for kids to do some kind of activity. It's also a terrific way to step into the martial arts, because as far as martial arts go, it's very organized. And it's a great workout as well too. And also there's if you're into it, there's competition. If you're into it, there's self-defense aspects for it. It's a terrific avenue to step into the world of martial arts with. And so I still practice Taekwondo to this day. I don't teach it anymore, but I still practice it. I'm a 6th degree black belt in Taekwondo, and so it's my foundation. But when I did Taekwondo, I was so happy because I was like finally doing the Bruce Lee stuff, kicking and punching and doing all that stuff. So I was in total hog heaven. But again, I was always a Bruce Lee fan. So I always wanted to learn Jeet Kune Do. So when I was in college, I saw a flyer that said a Jeet Kune Do training. I was like, as I took down the flyer, called up the number. The instructor, his name is Jeff Jones. He still has a school over in the East Coast. And Jeff at that time was going to school in Colorado. And so he was going to teach private lessons, but he also wanted a training partner. So I had enough experience from my background to become his training partner, because he learned Jeet Kune Do on the East Coast. And there was no Jeet Kune Do in the Denver area at that time. And so luckily, he was looking for that partner to train with. I was that partner, and I was like just so happy. I was in hog heaven because, Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. And this was back in the late 90s. Late 80s, early 90s when I was training with him. And it was called JKD Jeet Kune Do / Kali. And so that was
Nice.
during the time Guru Dan was blending the Jeet Kune Do with the Kali, and oh
Mhm.
man, I was just I still remember that feeling today. So happy to be learning the Jeet Kune Do along with the Kali, and at that time, this was state of the art, especially compared to the Taekwondo I was learning. I was, oh man, I was just so happy. So I trained with Sifu Jeff for
Mhm.
about 2 years, and the training was very rapid because he wanted me to get up to a level where he could continue training his drills and all the flow drills and all the Jeet Kune Do and Kali drills, and he would teach me as fast as I could pick it up. So he would
Mhm.
show me one thing. You know, I think when you have an interest in it, your mind's instantly focused and you learn faster. And so I was very interested and I learned very fast. And he would teach me, we would do the drills. I would go back home and I would practice it in the air. I'd come back the next time. And we would do it again. He's like, wow, solid. Let's move on to the next drill, next drill, next drill. And
Nice.
yeah, so I picked it up in a very rapid succession there. So I was super blessed to be hanging out with Seafood Jeff Jones there. Uh, and so I was going to school in the pre med program,
Mhm.
and eventually I went to chiropractic school. So this was all in Denver, the pre med program, uh, and so I wrapped up my training with Seafood Jeff, and then I moved to San Jose,
Mhm.
California. And so it was Denver, and now I'm in San Jose, California, going to chiropractic school. And uh, at that time, uh, Guru Dan Inosanto, he was
Mhm.
getting into Silat, and the specific system was Silat Sarak. And I remember Guru Jeff, he learned some Silat as well too, and he's like, "Oh, this is secret stuff. I shouldn't actually be teaching you, but definitely don't show anyone this stuff because back in the day, it really was like just very closed door kind of stuff with this Silat Sarak." And
Mhm.
so I went to San Jose, and we started our own martial arts club, and we taught taekwondo out of the chiropractic school. There was a
Mhm.
club, but uh, I found out that there was this guy who was teaching silat in the school. Uh,
Mhm.
and so I approached him. I said, "Hey, I hear you teach silat. Will you teach me silat?" And he said, I am an instructor, but there's even a better instructor than me here. Uh, he was a student. His name's Armando, and he said there's actually a clinical professor here that teaches Silat that's much higher level than I am. And I said, really?
Cool.
He's like, here, I'll introduce you. So he brings me to the clinic and he introduces me to Dr. Andre Kanushkraken. And it turns out Dr.
Wait, what was
Andre
that last name?
Kanushkraken,
And he
it's
was teaching at a chiropractic school?
yeah, yeah,
That's
and he
great.
was the clinical professor there. And so Dr. Andre, he taught Silat Sarak, the exact type of
Mm.
Silat that Guru Daniel Santo was learning as well
Okay.
too. And so I just thought, are you kidding me? And so, oh yeah, begged to be his student. He accepted me
Yeah.
as a student, and I became a student of Silat Sarak under Dr. Andre. And so I trained with him through my chiropractic school. We trained in his house. We trained at where I lived. We trained in the clinics as well too. Like since he was the clinic director there, we would just grab an exam room. We'd close the door and we would be training our C lot in there. And people
Nice.
would be knocking, Dr. Andre, we need your signature here or there or whatever. And he'd be like, give me a second. And then we would train a little bit or great times, great times. And yeah, so I learned Silat Sarak, the entire system under Dr. Andre, going through chiropractic school, became an instructor under him. I continued to train that, and I teach that today as well too. I still have students that I teach. It's a terrific art. Silat Sarak is very well organized, but loosely organized as well too.
Mm.
Like if I was going to say Taekwondo is the most organized, I mean, there is ranks. Every belt has specific things that you have to learn.
Mhm.
Silat's kind of like a very good balance of things that you must learn, but things that you should take and evolve on your own as an
Mm.
art. as well too. So it has structure, but yet it has a lot of growth and art potential as well too. And so a wonderful system. And so I graduated from chiropractic school in San Jose, and so I'm ready to move back to Denver, Colorado, to set up my open up my clinics. And when I when I was ready to graduate, Dr. Andre said, "Okay, you're moving back to Denver. There's a teacher. His name is Willem de Tours. He's one of the de Tours brothers. The de Tours brothers, they taught Guru Dan Inosanto, and they
Oh,
pioneered Silat Rock in the U.S. They actually brought that system to the U.S. and pioneered that system over to the U.S. And so he said, Willem de Tours teaches in Denver, Colorado. I know him. I can hook you up. I thought, oh my goodness, seriously?
you are
And
the
he said,
luckiest person of all time. I just want you to know that. I've never heard of anyone be luckier with instructors and getting passed to the next instructor.
yeah.
This is it's like it this sounds like the plot of a martial arts movie. Right? The only thing we're missing from the beginning is someone that you need to avenge.
The only thing that needed to be avenged was my ego from being bullied when I was a kid. uh, but yeah, so I moved back to Denver
Mhm.
to start practicing chiropractic, and met met Uncle Bill Willem de Tours, and he likes to be called Uncle Bill, which is really cool because he's the one that introduced me to the concept of family. And
Mm.
he's like, I was like, Grandmaster, Master, Grandmaster. He's like, no, 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 Uncle, Uncle, just call me Uncle. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And he really was like an uncle. Like he took me in, and I think my second or third class, I came over there, and he's like, let me cook you some dinner. And I thought, oh, no, you don't have to do that. He's cooking me dinner, and then we start training, and I really felt like family. And it was just
Mm.
amazing the way he treated me. And
That's fantastic.
uh, he taught Kun Tao. Kun Tao is basically Chinese kung fu by way of Indonesia. So the
Mhm.
Chinese, they immigrated into Indonesia, and they brought their kung fu with them. And uh, in the in Southeast Asia, including the Philippines and Malaysia, as well as Indonesia, they called it kun tao, which kun
Mhm.
meaning fist and tao meaning way. It's
Mm.
like Jeet Kune Do. There's kun do, fist way, and kun tao is just the same thing as kun do. Same thing in Taekwondo.
Taekwondo, yeah, I was thinking of that.
Kwando, yeah, fist way. Taekwondo meaning foot fist way. They just took the fist way, uh, and so uh, Uncle Bill taught that Chinese system, which included like Shaolin arts as well as Wudong arts in his Kun Tao. So we have like Shaolin forms. We have animal style forms like tiger and dragon, as well as internal forms. There's Bagua in his system as well too, as well as Silat Sarak, which is from his family, and other
Mm.
Silat systems as well too. So he taught a big buffet, if you will, of different martial arts from that region. And so, yeah, I trained with him very consistently, 2 to 3 times a week. And at that time, there was also a Kun Tao school in Denver, ran by one of his students, and we would
Mm.
train there as well too. And so, terrific times training there. Learned a lot from Uncle Bill. Learned a lot of the old ways. If Uncle Bill is now 90 years old, and he's still teaching. If you follow me online, you'll see some of my videos with him. He's still teaching. Right there, if there's just one reason to train martial arts, right there is that reason: longevity. He recently, yeah, just last year, because gosh, it seems like a long time ago, but this was just last year. He suffered a double stroke and also had some lung embolism and things like that.
Mhm.
He was gonna die. Okay, and he made it through all that trauma. And I
Mhm.
remember I met him like like a couple months after this huge health crisis that he had to go through, and he was walking very slow, very unbalanced. Stroke victims generally
Mm.
lose function in parts of their
Sure.
body and things like that. So his legs were weak. He had a cane, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm just glad that he made it through. And then I thought, wow, is he ever going to be the same again, like be functional again? Um, he said, hey, don't worry. I train every morning. I'm going to make it through this. Yeah, and sure enough, few months later, I come back. He's stronger. And then a few
Mm.
months later, I come back to Denver. I'm right now in San Francisco. So a few months later, I come back to Denver, and he's he's back to normal
Mm.
after about 6 months of him pushing himself to do his martial arts. And now when I see him, he's basically like before, like this health crisis never happened. So it's just an amazing tool, an amazing vehicle that we can use to not only improve our lives, but improve our health, improve our odds of recovering from something bad like this. So martial arts is just amazing. So I had to tell that story about Uncle Bill. But anyways, back to the journey. So
Yeah.
I was just in my mid 20s
Mm-hmm.
when I trained with Uncle Bill, and uh, at that time, Uncle Bill has a friend, or he had a friend. Unfortunately, he passed. Uncle Wayne Welsh, who taught traditional Bagua Zhang and Xingyi and Tai Chi. And Uncle Bill's Bagua is very old school. It's very how would I say? Uh, I don't want to say basic or rudimentary, but it's very primal, very like just
Mm.
not classical style of Bagua that I've always wanted to learn. And so he said, if you want to learn the classical Bagua the one with all the poetry, go to my friend Uncle Wayne. And so
Mm.
I learned from Uncle Wayne Bagua, and he taught a system called Ying Long Xing, the shape and image of the dragon. And yes, he had all the bagua a nerd could want. I mean,
Mm.
the first set has like 116 moves to it, and every move has poetry behind it.
Mm.
Wild goose leaves the flock, close the door to push out the moon, hide flower under leaf. Wild goose leaves the flock, and so every move, and so I loved it. I'm a nerd. I'm like, give me more, bring it on. I don't care. And at this time, I still practice my Taekwondo forms. I still practice all my Silat jurus and forms, if you will, my kuntao. I really consider it disrespectful and a waste of my time and my teacher's time if I just let everything go to pot. And
Mm.
that's how I consider it. I just consider I've wasted their time. I've wasted their energy that they gave to me if I stop
Mm.
training their system. So every system that I've done and do, I continue to train. If you ask me to do Taekwondo forms, I'll do Taekwondo forms. Probably not as good as when I was completely focused on Taekwondo, but I can still go through those sets and the combinations and the curriculum that they had for us. Silat, same thing. Jeet Kune Do, the same thing. I consider it a shame if I forget my stuff. I consider it very shameful if my teacher says, "Hey, do this form here. I want to see this form," and I can't do it. That's very embarrassing to me, and I would feel very bad about it because I've wasted my teacher's time and effort on me, and you know time is our most valuable commodity. And if
Mm.
I've felt I've wasted their time, that's just such a shame on me uh, to that. So all this Kuntao has a lot of forms as well too. Shaolin and the Silat systems that Uncle Bill taught me has a lot of sets. And then I added on all this Bagua stuff as well too. And these are long sets. And so we have several sets. We have weapon sets in Bagua and Xingyi. There's 5 elements, 12 animals. I love them all. I love them all. So I've still practiced them all. And so this was from my 20s to my 30s that I learned from Uncle Bill and Uncle Wayne. Uh, at that time, uh, I set up chiropractic offices in Denver, and
Hmm.
I was doing very well. And so I decided to take a step back from that and uh, move to San Francisco. Okay, my wife's family is from San Francisco, and she wanted
Okay.
to be back there with them. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, let's move," because I was just working so hard as well too. I was either working
Mm.
like crazy or doing martial arts, one or the other, and it was really burning me out. So that work, I was not a very pleasant person. I was like just a mean person, and so I thought I can't do this anymore. I've got to move. I'm becoming toxic, and
Mm.
so luckily, I had good partners, good doctors, and so uh, I moved to San Francisco, and close to my house was a Muay Thai school, and I thought, oh, I always wanted to do Muay Thai. This is so cool, and so I went in, and coming from a traditional martial arts background, I thought these guys would be dragging their knuckles on the ground and grunting at you, but it turns out they're really cool people, very nice, very kind, very respectful people, and I thought, oh, I want to train Muay Thai here. It's really cool. This is under a Crew Sam Pimsotham. He's from Thailand, and
Mhm.
he's also one of Master Toddy's first instructors as well too. So uh, the Muay Thai was awesome. I just love the Muay
Mm.
Thai, and I teach it at the school today at World Team USA, right
Mhm.
here. And
Yep.
so I'm an instructor there, and this was over 20 years ago that I walked into that Muay Thai gym.
Mm.
And so at that time too, UFC just happened. UFC one, UFC two, and of course, Gracie, Hoist Gracie winning those tournaments.
Mhm.
What is one of the pivotal points of martial arts? Yeah, I mean, it's something that no one can ignore. It's
Right.
just it happened, and we
Yep.
can't ignore it. Yeah, and I looked at they had a jujitsu class, and I would look at those guys rolling on the ground. I thought, ooh, I want to do some of that. And so, yeah, a year after Muay Thai, the jiu-jitsu guys are always really cool. We would have
Mhm.
uh, the Muay Thai class right after their jiu-jitsu class. So
Mhm.
those guys would be finishing up, and I would talk to them, and they all seem very cool. And they're like, join us, join us. So I joined them a year after I did the Muay Thai, and
Mhm.
so I did Muay Thai, and then I'm sorry, I did the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and then Muay Thai uh, on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and then yeah, love the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Great workout, just an amazing way to work out, as well as obviously learning how to survive on the ground. And my teacher, he taught both the old school jujitsu, like self
Mhm.
defense stuff, as well as the new sport jujitsu as well too. Uh,
Mhm.
we went through several different instructors in that program. I just want to shout out to my teachers Angino and Yoshi and then Marcel and then Diego. And luckily, like Marcel and Diego, they're all from Brazil.
Mm.
They're all like from Brazil, and they're all champions in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. They're gold medalists in the Pan Ams, in the Worlds, in the Brazilian Nationals. They were like solid guys, super tough, some of the toughest people on earth, but also some of the nicest, as well too. Super cool. And so Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai. I couple years ago, I went back to Thailand to train under Master Toddy. I'm a crew,
Cool.
which is an instructor in Muay Thai. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I've competed in the world championships. I placed third in the no-gi division. I've
Nice.
placed third in the Pan Ams. I've placed first in the American Cup. Did what do you call it? The open division, the unlimited
Mhm.
division, or absolute division as a brown belt, and won that. So in other words, I competed against the other winners of their divisions uh, in all weight classes, and I
Mm-hmm.
won that so it's called a double gold medal. So I won my division and then won the
Mm-hmm.
open or absolute division as a brown belt, which was crazy as well too. I want
Yeah.
to talk about that story because it might inspire some of our listeners as well too into to being able to do something you don't think you can do and just
Mm-hmm.
give it a try, and so I was at the American Cup as a brown
Mm-hmm.
belt, and I competed in my division, won my division, and uh, I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm good. And then my teacher Diego at that time, he's like, uh, he's like, I'm going to sign you up for the open division. I was like, no, no, no. I'm a featherweight. I'm not even a middleweight. Or a light heavy. I was like, no, 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 no. I'm good. I'm good. He's like, no, I'm signing you up. I was like, no, 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 please don't. And so he goes and signs me up. And so I'm looking at my teammates. I'm like, should I leave? Because there's very little chance that
Yeah.
a featherweight's going to win this thing, and I might get injured. I mean, you're going up against heavyweights and people similar to your skill set, and so I thought I was ready to leave the auditorium. I was ready to leave the venue because I was like, I've never competed in absolute before, and I was scared. I was totally scared. But then my teammates were like, you want to fight those guys or you want to fight Diego on Monday when you come back to class?
Ooh.
So I was like, okay, fine. I'll go do it. And yeah, I won all my matches and I submitted
Mm-hmm.
both my opponents in the quarterfinals and the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes luck just falls your way and
Yeah.
you accept the challenges and it just falls your way. And so that was a lucky day for me. Just everything came together for me. I met the opponents, that made my journey possible, and so yeah. Take a chance, and you never know. You just never know what happens. So that's my Brazilian Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey. I'm a second degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Uh, I teach it at World Team USA right now as well too. Let's see. Okay, so I'm still currently teaching. I teach Monday,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, and Friday at the school, both Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai. And
Mm-hmm.
then COVID hit, and so the gym closed down. You can't be hugging guys or punching them in the face; it's too close. And so I thought, you know, I've always wanted to do a Japanese sword art with swords. I
Mm-hmm.
learned swords with Chinese weapons
Mm-hmm.
uh, in Baguazhang, the broadsword, the straight sword in Tai Chi. But I always wanted to learn the katana. I always had extreme respect for the katana, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to learn to use it. So I was like, let's investigate this because I have time. And so there's an Iaido school in San Francisco, and I contacted them, and they were teaching online. I was like, this is perfect. And so, oh my gosh, finally when we were able to meet back, I was able to learn in person and uh, get my hakama, and I
Mm.
call it cosplay. I gotta do cosplay once a week, put on
Sure.
my hakama, pretend I'm samurai, put on my iaito, which is a training katana, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Put on there to walk around like I'm samurai. Hey, don't mess with me, I'll cut your head off, kind of thing. And
Love it.
so
Love
I'm
it.
a nerd. I'm a big nerd. So that was 6 years ago. So I'm a black belt in Iaido, and
Mm-hmm.
I've almost made it through their curriculum. I mean, when I first started, I would look at the curriculum sheet and think, if I only learn like just half of this curriculum sheet, I'll be good because I already do too much. I don't think I can squeeze in any more. But no, no, don't put limits on yourself. I'm still
Right.
squeezing stuff in, and I'm still training all my previous stuff as well too.
Mm.
Uh, and so, luckily, during that time as well too, during COVID, well, luckily or unluckily, there was a lot of Asian hate over here in San Francisco.
Mm.
Like
Right.
seniors were being pushed to the ground. Uh, they were being assaulted. Asian people were being assaulted. It was just all sorts of I mean, they were calling it the China flu or the Kung flu, things like that. Trying to point the finger at something. And I understand that's just what happens when something bad
Mhm.
happens. We want a scapegoat, and
That's right.
a lot. There was a lot of violence against Asians over here, and so. I became part of groups who were trying to see how we can mitigate that and
Mm.
how we can help empower the Asians and the seniors over here. And I met a bunch of different martial artists from San Francisco. And one of them, his name is Sifu Las Wong. He's a Hung
Mhm.
Gar instructor under YC Wong. And he took a liking to me, and we started hanging out together. He's older than I am. He started introducing me to all these martial artists and these events and everything like that. And one day he's like, "Hey, Conrad, you want to learn some Hung Gar?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have so many forms. I don't even know how many forms I practice." And I thought, "Oh, I can't say
But you
no."
said yes, didn't you?
Yes, I said yes. You see the pattern.
I do. I
You
do.
see the
There was no way you were going to say no to that one. There
yeah.
was.
Yeah, and he said, "Hey, what form do you want to learn? I'll teach you anything you want to learn in Hung Gar." And he said, "How about the iron wire set?" I was like, "I've heard of that. I've read about that. The iron wire, that is their top internal training set." And
Mm.
uh, uh, yeah, and so I said, "Oh my gosh!" So Iron Wire, I learned it from you as well too. I would be honored. So I drove in.
Mm.
He lived an hour outside of San Francisco. I drove an hour to
Mhm.
his place to learn this Iron Wire set, and I'm still learning Hungar from him to this day. I've learned the Iron Wire set. At first, I thought, "Oh, how long could it be?" This thing takes like 9 to 10 minutes to complete. But I love it. I love it. It's a really cool set. It kind of has like internal work, dynamic tension, and
Mm.
isometrics. It's actually a really cool set, and of course, it has martial arts applications and things
Huh.
like that too. And come on, it traces back to Wong Fei Hong. Once Upon a Time in China series, you gotta love that stuff. And so, yeah, I was just in hog heaven. If any of the listeners want, check out my Facebook or Instagram post. There's a post on there where we've trained in Chinatown, so you'll see a little bit
Oh,
of San
okay.
Francisco
We'll make sure we get
Chinatown.
that linked in the show notes.
Okay, cool. And then we went down into the basement, like we're talking Big Trouble in Little China, buddy.
Mm.
We go into the basement and there's all the old seafoods down there, and then I'm doing some training down there. A dream come true. Ever since
Mm.
I saw Big Trouble in Little China, I always wanted to learn some kung fu in Chinatown, and it happened. And so, finally, here we are today. Also, during this whole time, I've I've been training firearms as well too.
Mhm.
I trained with police officers, SWAT team members. I've
Oh.
trained under San Francisco's most decorated police officer, Paul Lozado. Um, I'm a firearms instructor under him. I'm a firearms instructor under the NRA. I'm a concealed carry weapons instructor, a concealed carry instructor under the NRA, as well as the concealed carry instructor under the Department of Justice with the state of California as well too.
Wow.
So I've always loved firearms. It's growing up in Aurora, Colorado, as part of the culture. Every house had guns and
Yep.
cabinets. I mean, literal cabinets that weren't even locked. You could just open it up. These guns were loaded as well too. It's just the culture back then. And so
Yep.
I've always been around firearms my whole life, and I instructed as well too at the Tactical Solutions Academy. We were also part of a big training event for SWAT teams
Mm.
last year as well too. And so I consider firearms part of martial arts. Some martial artists I've ran into say, no, no, that's not part of martial arts. But I'll tell you what, the Shaolin monks are about as traditional as you can get, right? And they trained with spears. Now, there's only one use for spears, and that's to kill something.
Right.
It's not a farm instrument where
Yeah.
using it for bale, hay or something like that. It's actually to kill. It's a war. It's a weapon of war, and that's the
Mhm.
technology they had back then. And if the monks continued to evolve and had the same mentality they had back in those days, they would totally be into firearms as well too. But that's just my stance on it. It's
I
controversial, I
agree. I agree
understand, but
wholeheartedly.
that's just my stance. And also during this time, I took a step back and I was like, I've got all these arts: Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, Silat, Kun Tao, Bagua, uh, BJJ, Muay Thai, point sparring, all this stuff. If I was
Yeah.
attacked, what would I use? And I was like, knife attacks, punch. What would I do? Muay Thai? Would I do BJJ? Would I do Silat? What do I use? And so,
Mm.
in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I learned a lot about sports psychology because I was competing all the time. And there's something called Hicks Law, and Hicks Law states that the more choices you have to respond to a stimulus, the longer it'll take for you to respond to it because your mind's going through the files
Right.
going, what do I do? Okay. And so I knew that was my hindrance. It's a great blessing to have all these arts, but if I was attacked, it can become a hindrance to me. Like, what do I do? Do I side kick them? Do I punch them in the nose? Do I try to clinch up? Do I double leg them, take them to the ground? So I really took a hard look at that. So I thought,
Mm.
there's something that our previous generations and previous masters before us didn't have opportunity to do. That was to look at all the CCTV footage, security
Yeah.
cams, cell phone footage of actual attacks. Because yeah. So I'm also an instructor in Kali.
Mhm.
Back in Colorado, I had a friend who was an instructor in Kali, and we would train Kali. He would teach me Kali, and I would teach him Silat, and we would do
Mm.
this trade-offs because I want to learn more Kali, and so I'm a guru in Kali, if you will. And uh, I thought, the Silat is well known for blade and blade defense, as well as Kali, known for blade and blade defense. And I looked at those arts and I thought, there's a lot of holes in these arts here. I just don't know where those holes are. So I went back to the drawing board and I spent hundreds of hours combing through CCTV footage.
Mm.
And I found that there's four basic types of attacks that are common amongst all these. I did a study actually. So I found that being punched in the face with a big right hand
Mhm.
was a very common thing, and we all know that. If you're attacked by bladed attacks are a common thing, and it's generally like the sewing machine thing,
Mm.
sewing machine, or what we call a cycle stab. A sewing machine
Okay.
more common, but the cycle stab is out there as well too. So that clubbing attacks as well too, big old clubbing attacks. So if they have a stick, a pipe, or a baseball bat, big clubbing
Uh-huh.
attacks is another one, and also firearm threats. Someone putting a gun to your face. So
Mm.
those were the four major ones I found on the CCTV footage. Of course, there's a bunch of other stuff too. People getting grabbed, but usually the grab was to control, to punch, or things like that. Those were the main things I saw. Of course, if you watch enough, you'll see people using kung fu. You'll see people double legs. You'll see everything on there. But if you study it enough, you'll see that those are the most common attacks. And luckily, then I found that wow, the criminals, when they attack you like an eighth grader would attack you. Uh,
Mm.
like an eighth grader without any training would just hit you like this, and that's how criminals attack you. If you gave an eighth grader a knife and say stab someone, they go like that. And luckily, so here I was in Silat defending angle 15 and Kali defending the snake against angle 7 or whatever, and you never saw those angles. Well,
Mm.
if you watched it enough, you might see some of those angles, maybe. But if you're looking at the commonalities and the high percentage things, those angles were just like, because I trained against angle 1, same as I trained against angle 14, right? So
Mm.
which angle? Uh, uh, so I found that these attacks were, one, very simplistic, and two, very violent, quick, and repetitive. And so I went back to the drawing board. I looked through all my systems, and not just the systems. I try to figure out three things. How can I counter these threats now? Now I found the problem. How can I counter these threats with a proper solution? So I need my techniques there. What techniques would I use? I had literally hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of techniques from all the way back to Taekwondo, to Jeet Kune Do, to Muay Thai, And so there were certain aspects where I was like, okay, knife defense. You Taekwondo guy, you Muay Thai guy, even you BJJ guy, shut your mouth for now. We need to figure out the knife guys, what they're going to say. Okay, all right, so I looked at the Silat and I was like, okay, how would Silat possibly handle this problem that I'm looking at? The psycho stab and the sewing machine. How would they? And so I formalized some theories. I formalized some techniques. And I went and I gave him a try. I pressure tested it. So I would take a training knife to the Muay Thai class and say, "Here, try stab me with this." And yeah, I would try all this disarms. And I was like, "Hey, wait, stop. They're cutting me up to ribbons, right?" I'm like, "Okay, back to the drawing board." I go back to the gym, back to the drawing board, back to the gym. And then I figured out a simple solution. Finally, that's high percentage. So I want something that was gross motor skill and simple to teach. That I would use. That's high percentage. So I went through that. I figured out we eventually discovered what I called the PRO method. PRO. P stands for protect yourself first. So let's just look at the knife solution. Oh, but that PRO method you use for anything, whether you're being shot at, a mass shooting or drive-by. You still can use PRO, whether they're punching you in the face or stabbing you with a knife or hitting you with a club. You use that PRO method. So P stands for protect yourself. So a knife's coming at me. I'm going to use something to protect myself. I might get stabbed once. Maybe I got caught by surprise, right? And so, gosh, it went back to Taekwondo. I have a low block, and I'm going to protect myself. But other hand comes in. We protect ourselves first. We want to then reposition and restrain that weapon. So I learned that repositioning through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Their whole motto is position before submission. And most of the time, not all the time, that rule can be broken, but a position before submission. In other words, when we watch Royce Gracie dismantle all those people in UFC 1, 2, and 4, he repositioned them and restrained their weapons. They could no longer punch him. And then he went off on the offense. He choked them out. He armbarred them. He punched them, and they gave up. They tapped. And so he used the PRO method too. His first thing was protection, right? So he would stand at a distance and then do these ugly looking kicks to keep them at a distance, and then he'd go in and shoot on their legs. So he would protect himself first. Then he would reposition them. In other words, take them down, get to side control, get to mount, get to whatever, before he went off on the offense. So PRO, when people hear about that, they're like, oh my gosh, that's everything in martial arts. And it is the commonality amongst all martial arts. One, don't get hurt, right? Protect yourself. Two, if you can, restrain that weapon, reposition yourself, restrain that weapon. And then now you've earned the right to go on to the offense. That being said, of course, these aren't like complete laws. They're just general tactics that you can follow to increase your odds of coming out. Sometimes you just have to hit offense right away. You just have no choice. You just offense right away without protecting yourself. But that being said, that might reduce your odds. So like if someone's stabbing you and you're trying to eye jab them at the same time, you've got an inferior tool and you're on the losing end, right? So if someone's stabbing you in the neck, in the body, and you're trying to punch them at the same time, you might knock them out, but you're going to be cut severely. You haven't protected yourself. You haven't restrained yourself or restrained the weapon, and you then go on the offense. You might, maybe you're super fast and you just hit that chin right at the button and you drop them. And that might be possible. But again, we're looking at the odds. There's always percentages. You have a small puncher's chance, as they call it in combat sports, of doing that. But again, I'm just about percentages. If there's something that's higher percentage, low risk, I'd rather take that road than go high risk and high reward. But that's just me. Everyone has their own approach. So we came up with the PRO defense, and that's where Tiga Tactics is born, to disseminate this information. Take all. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I was also a bouncer back in when I was going through college, and so
That
I
doesn't
was
surprise
able
me.
to. I was able to experience some of this stuff firsthand and get some of the knowledge firsthand. But even I bounced for about 2 years. It wasn't like as good as my CCTV study because I still saw very limited types of attacks, as well as limited to a bar scene with drunk bikers and drunk college kids. There's some really cool stories to tell about that one. That was the time the whole bar was fighting. It was just hilarious. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I still practice everything. I just go around just being a nerd and sharing the love of martial arts. Now my whole mission, how the Mormons send out people to do. My whole thing is to go out there and convert people to do martial arts. It's the best activity you could do for yourself, for your family. It checks off so many boxes doing martial arts. I mean, there's the exercise, the physical activity. There's the mental growth as well too. Martial arts challenges your mind. Whether you do a form or kata, you're working your mind. You're not stopping, but you can help delay or prevent dementia, those type of age-related things. There's social interactions, just like what we were talking about, Jeremy. Like, here we are, two strangers, and we got to hang out like this. And
Right.
there's that big family out there we haven't met yet. So there's this whole social thing. I know people from around the world, literally. And if I go somewhere, I could just say, "Hey, I'm going to be in this area. You want to hang out for a little bit?" And oh yeah, everybody's free, to hang out with the nerd. And so there's that part. There's the cultural part. When I learn martial arts, I'm learning the history of civilization, as well too. So there's that part. There's also a very spiritual part to martial arts as well too, and that's where my journey's currently been going as well too. I've been spending the past few years trying to learn about different religions, and I find that they parallel the development of martial arts very similarly. Very similarly. So you have a religion, and then it splinters, and then you have different groups that don't agree with each other, but you're all still
Right.
one part of the family. And it's funny, like in Buddhism, for example, there's different forms of Buddhism. I don't want to say I'm a Buddhist, but I grew up as a Buddhist. So if you said, "What religion are you?" and you made me say I'm something, I would have to say I'm a Buddhist, but I don't want to say that. But even in Buddhism, there's different lines and lineages of Buddhism, and they don't always get along. It's so weird, but that's like martial arts. One system of karate can look very soft, almost like Chinese style, and then the other system, like Kyokushin, they're out there like chopping off horns of
Right.
bulls and doing full contact fighting. And they're all part of the same family. The bottom line is, as a human being, martial artists or spiritualists, we have much more in common than we do in difference. All right, so that's the end of the journey.
And that is your origin story. Okay. Um, we have time for one more question. So here's the question. So I often will ask people where you've come from and where you're going. So you talked about how you put some of these pieces together with PRO, and that's fascinating. Resonates with some of the things I'm working on myself right now. So it's cool to see that and I'm going to steal some of your ideas and everything with that. Certainly give you credit if I
Feel free.
if
Feel
I if
free.
I run with it. Right?
I don't believe
But
in any more secrets anymore. Some of my teachers
okay,
and
good,
my classmates don't like that idea, but there's no more secrets. There's no more secrets.
good. So when we look out to the future, because as you've said, you've built a foundation of so many martial arts and you've committed to maintaining them, that's not always positive. That sometimes that's a bit of a liability. But I also see someone in the way that you've talked about learning these arts who can't say no to learning new things. So, which, as time goes on, do you think is more likely? That you are going to say no to new martial arts training opportunities and new styles or systems, or that you will let go of some of what you've learned in the past?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a good question because there, I used to think, and I could be wrong both ways. I used to think that there's a limit to what you can learn. Like
Mm-hmm.
like a cup of water, your mind can only hold so much. But now I'm kind of thinking it's unlimited. It's unlimited. So I'm not sure where my thinking will be in a few years. I'm on the unlimited portion right now, but there might be a limit. So I'm okay with living in the gray on that one.
Okay. Okay. We'll have to stay in touch so we can find out, because I think at least some of the audience is probably seeing you in the way I am, which is eventually maintaining all of those things, unless you drop the standard, right? Which is certainly possible, right? Okay, I remember this form, but I'm kind of walking through it, right? Like I'm not doing it with any kind of intent. Maybe I'm forgetting some of the nuance. You could do that, but eventually it's a time problem. You start stacking enough martial arts in, and you keep, okay, these are different. I'm going to maintain them as different things. I'm going to train them as different things. And now, if you want to get through everything, I mean, how many forms do you actively know right now? I'm going to guess it's well over 100.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of them are taking 10 minutes. We start working in some of those Chinese sets that are 5, 10. There's
Hmm.
some out there I've heard that are 20 minutes. So now we're talking hours, well beyond a single training session to get through just that piece. It's a lot of material.
Yeah. Well, luckily, since I've been training these sets for so long now, I just have to train them once a month
Okay.
to maintain them. So
Okay.
uh, and you're right. I sometimes the time issue is a thing. The time issue is a thing. So I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I'm
Okay.
gonna keep gung ho. I'm the nerd. I just love martial
I
arts,
love it.
and
I
I
love it.
love the people in martial arts too. That's what keeps me going. Meeting amazing people like yourself, Jeremy. That keeps me going. That keeps me going.
if if lightning were to strike again, and the art that you wanted to train suddenly pops up, somebody's there ready, what is it, what do you want to, you could train in anything,
You
what
know,
is
I'm
it?
I'm a nerd. If someone from an Indian martial arts came to me, I'd do
Mm,
that. If someone from European martial arts, I
mm,
would probably look into that. The world's a big place. As much as I
yeah,
know or think I know, there's still so much more to learn out there.
there's,
The world's there's stuff from Cambodia, there's stuff from
mhm,
Vietnam, there's stuff from Korea that more than Taekwondo. Yeah,
mhm.
hey, I'm a nerd. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for just about anything,
Yeah,
and
okay.
it
And I
I
can, I can relate. And for those, I have to throw in this tiny little plug here. For those of you who have been to Marshall Summit, you are probably saying, I am too. Yeah, because that's kind of what we do there. Tiny plug over. I think we've got a pretty good picture of who you are. And I've got a feeling a lot of us can relate that it's the time problem, right? A lot of us who've been training a long time would love to train everything under the sun. But there are other, right? There are also other things that we love, right? Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's job. Sometimes job is only a way that we make the money to feed the people we love and afford the classes to train,
Yep.
whatever those things are. And some of us get lucky enough that we can call this thing that we love our job. And
Right,
I am
right.
blessed to do that. And sounds
Yeah,
like
I
you
was
do, at
blessed.
least in part.
I was blessed to be able to enter such an amazing profession like chiropractic. I
Mm.
had a good business partner as well too, and so you know, I don't make as much money as I used to. I still have offices in Denver, Colorado, and I run
Mhm.
them from San Francisco, and
Mhm.
I don't make as much as I used to, but I have more free time to be with my family, to train martial arts, and have the resources to travel and do martial arts and this stuff too. So you know, it's a balance. It's a balance. You can't be in this society. It's hard to be just a monk because we need money. You need resources to be able to do the things you want to do. So to be and what like what you were talking about, the principles, the underlying principles of martial arts, of business, of spirituality, of relationships, they're all very similar. They're all very similar. And so being able to apply those principles across the playing board is the foundation that martial arts
Mm.
gives to you. And so again, it's the best activity you can do, whether you're on a spiritual journey, a financial journey, martial arts journey, a health journey, whatever it is. If you learn the right things, it forms a solid foundation to work from.
Mm. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Web, social, email,
Yeah,
any of
so
that?
Conrad Bui, just search my name on Instagram, Facebook, friend me. Uh, you know, I'm all, again, if you're into martial arts, I consider you family. So don't think, oh
Mm.
gosh, this guy who's super busy, he's got family, he's got work, he's doing all this stuff. I try to answer as much as I can. I have all sorts of people asking me all sorts of questions. I'm family. You know, if I know, I'll try to help you out with it. If I don't, I'll point you in the right way. Uh, I'll do what I can to, you know, just strengthen the relationship of this family.
Mm. Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome. And
also,
we'll
I'm
please.
sorry. Also, www.tigatactics.com. That's spelled. Let me see here. Right here. Uh, TIGA tactics.com.
Got it.
So
Okay. We'll get all that
that's our
linked up in the
official
comments.
website. If you want to learn about my journey into the combatives realm and things like that, right now I'm partnered with my cousin Patrick, who's a lifetime martial artist, as well as Evan Peppers. He's for 20 years in the military,
Mm.
44 months of deployment as special operations forces in Iraq, Iran,
Mm.
seen it all, done it all as far as that military stuff goes. He's also a martial arts nerd along with my cousin. We kind of spearhead Tiga Tactics, so come and hang out with us there as well too.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, Conrad, this has been great. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. But it's time that we close this up. So I told you before we got started, I'm going to ask you to close it up. What do you want the audience to come away with from our conversation today?
All right. You know, if I could summarize my mindset and how I came to this point, there's three things I'd like for you to remember, and three things I remember in my life. I try to keep in the forefront of my mindset to empower myself. Stay alert, stay humble, stay kind. You know, stay alert. We all hear about that in martial arts. You know, stay alert to your surroundings, stay alert to the area around you, situational awareness, more military law enforcement type of thing. Uh, as a nerd and as a human being, stay alert to the beauty around you too. There's so much negativity in this world, and sometimes the news and our news feed and social media feeds us all this junk. And not, stay alert to the positive stuff. There's a lot of positivity in your life right now. The people
Mhm.
around you, the situations you're in, your health, what you're doing. There's a lot of love out there, a lot of positivity. So stay alert to both. We can't fall to one side. Be balanced. Stay alert. Stay humble. That's how I've learned so much. Hey, if there's a 13-year-old in the gym that's doing something, and I'm like, what are you doing? Teach that to me. Hey, I don't care. I'm 55 years old. I've done all this. I don't care if he has something new to show
Mhm.
me. I'll learn. Stay humble. That's how you grow. And of course, stay kind. We talked about that. As a martial artist, uh, I have the opportunity and the choice to be kind by choice. And so, stay alert, stay humble, stay kind. If you keep those three things in your mind, you'll it's a solid foundation for a good life.